If you're feeling like your law firm makes money, but you're not seeing it in your pocket, you're not realizing as much income as you think you should be, today's video is for you. Today we're going over the top money lessons that every law firm owner needs to know to help you really build a profitable law firm. I'm Darcel. I'm a law firm owner and a coach for lawyers, and I help lawyers with the business side of owning a law firm. I'm here to help you increase the revenue and profit in your law firm. So today we're going to dive into some top money lessons that you really need to know, because I find that a lot of times people don't want to talk about the money side of things, but we're running a business here. Unless your law firm is a nonprofit organization, which if it is, that's amazing. But if you're like me, your law firm, you built it to, one of the reasons is to increase your personal revenue. So we need your law firm to be profitable. And that's lesson number one, is to understand that revenue and profit are two different things. A lot of times lawyers will just focus on the revenue of the law firm. But I will tell you, I have law firm owners whose firms, the revenue is maybe $350,000 a year, and they are making more money and are more profitable than a larger firm making $800, $850 a year because of the expenses, because of the overhead. That's why you can have a law firm making less than half in revenue of a different law firm and still be more profitable because they have their expenses under control. So many times as a law firm owner, you are so caught up in the day-to-day grind of lawyering that you're not taking the time to take a step back and to truly understand your numbers. If you have a bookkeeper who's doing your books for you, you need to understand those numbers. You need to understand, what does it cost you to run your business? What's the revenue? What is the profit? You can't just have your bookkeeper send you your report and you just say, oh yeah, that looks fine. No, you need to understand those numbers, because you are a business owner first before you are a lawyer when you are a law firm owner. We have to put our business hat on. This takes us to tip number two, is that you should be getting paid first in your law firm. You should not be getting whatever scraps are left. You should be, on your payroll, paid in regular increments. I do payroll twice a month. On the 10th and the 25th, I get a regular paycheck from the business. Now, everyone's entity structure is going to be different. For my corporation, it is a PLLC, but I have an S Corp designation. So you'll want to talk to your tax person about whether you should be an S Corp or not. That makes sense for you. But as an S Corp, I take a regular wage, a W-2 wage. And then as an owner, there are separate distributions that I take. Again, this is not meant to be tax advice, so let's not get too deep into that. The point of this tip is that you need to be paying yourself first. You should be a priority on your payroll, even if it's just you. If you don't have anyone else on your team and it's just you, you should be one of those first expenses. And again, you're not just taking whatever's left. We are very intentional about what is being paid, what the expenses are, and paying you should be a priority in your law firm. Number three, I understand this notion of wanting to do everything yourself, but your time has a sizable value to it. You need to stop doing $20 an hour tasks. That's one of the hardest lessons that I have to work with my law firm owners on, is that they feel that they can't incur the expense of bringing someone on, even if it's just part-time. They can do it better themselves. They know how they want it done. That's not going to help you grow your firm. You cannot do everything. You should not be doing everything. And once you have the revenue coming in to be able to afford to pay for some help, you need to be doing so, because you need to free up that time that you're doing admin tasks, again, by paying someone $20, $30, whatever it is per hour, even if it's just 10 or 15 hours a week, right? You need to outsource that to someone else, because your billable rate is much higher, right? I mean, across the nation, it's going to be different. I'm about $400 an hour is my billable rate, and I told you guys before that I do primarily flat fee, but that is based on my hourly rate of $400 an hour. So for me to be doing tasks that I can pay someone to do 20 or 30 bucks an hour, I have no business doing those when I have the revenue coming in to support paying someone else, so I can focus on the business side of my law firm. We need to figure out how you can outsource that admin work to free up your time, because one of the reasons you went out on your own, I'm sure, if you're anything like me, you went out on your own because you wanted more control over your time. You wanted more freedom, in addition to making more money than you were making at the firm. Maybe you went solo fresh out of law school, but one of the driving forces to opening your own law firm is to have more control over your time and more freedom with your time. So we want to make sure we're not spending our time doing admin support type tasks. That is not the highest and best use of your time as an attorney, as an owner of your law firm. All right, so now we're on tip number 4, I think, where you need to make sure that you are budgeting for the expenses that are not regular. You're going to have some expenses that come up just once a year. Aside from just things that you may not have foreseen, right? Maybe your laptop breaks down, or you need some new software or something like that. But there's just going to be annual expenses, maybe conferences, maybe your malpractice insurance that you should be budgeting for on a monthly basis. You should have kind of some funds set aside for those once a year expenses, those unexpected expenses. That way when they come up, you're not scrambling trying to find the funds to pay for those things. You want to have some funds set aside for that. And that goes to our next tip, which I think we're on number 5 now. I think we're on number 5, is making sure you have some type of emergency fund for your law firm. And when I say emergency fund, everyone's threshold may be different as far as how much they think they need for an emergency fund. You want to at least start out by having 1 month's worth of expenses set aside in an emergency fund, which is why it's important that you know what it costs you to run your business. Back to tip number 1, right? You need to know what it costs to run your business, and you want to have 1 month's worth of that, including your pay, including your compensation. That's in that 1 month supply. You should have that set aside. The goal beyond that would be to have 3 months worth of expenses set aside in your emergency fund just in case. Again, I haven't had to use it. Fortunately, knock on some wood here, I haven't had to use it, but you want to have those funds set aside just in case. Another one I see a lot of lawyers doing, especially if their entity structure is that they're a sole prop and they have not formed a PLLC, they're not an S Corp or some other kind of entity, is that when they're a proprietor or sole prop, they are mixing their personal and business expenses, and that needs to stop immediately, even if you are a sole prop. You should not be depositing income or revenue from your law firm into your personal checking account. That needs to be separate. Primarily so you can have some clean books, right? So you can at the end of the year very easily show what the income was, what the expenses were. But there's also other factors as well, especially if you are a corporate entity like a PLLC. You should not be commingling your personal and business revenue and expenses. So if you are doing that, and if you are depositing law firm revenue into your personal bank account, we're going to stop that immediately. We are going to open a business bank account. There's plenty of banks that will do that for free for you. And we're going to have all law firm revenue coming into that business bank account. And then you're paying expenses from that account, you're paying yourself from that account, but we are not going to mix or commingle our personal and business finances. Those should be separate. Next is, please do not DIY your books and your taxes. I mean, if you have a strong tax background, if you have a strong accounting background, okay, again, not the highest and best use of your time. Okay, you can pay someone else to do that for you. So my first year, I did not have a bookkeeper. I've always had a tax professional. I've always had a CPA from day one, but I did do my own books, and I'm so like, I preach to you to keep your overhead low. I didn't have QuickBooks or anything. I literally had a Word document that I was tracking my income and expenses for that first year. My poor CPA trying to put that all together for my first year's taxes as a solo. But since then, I realized pretty quickly when it came to paying me and paying my quarterly taxes and the state filings and with the 940 and 941s, like, for me to spend the time to figure all that out and do that, it just was a much better use of my time to have a bookkeeper do that for me, especially because I had an employee, actually like a W-2 employee with my firm. And so outsourcing that was one of the best decisions that I made for me and my firm. And now I don't worry about my quarterly state and federal filings and my taxes getting done on time. Like, someone else is doing all of that for me. Now, again, I know what it says. I'm reviewing that, I'm asking them questions, I'm making sure everything is categorized correctly on my P&Ls and that my balance sheet and things like that. So I understand what the numbers are, but I'm not the one actually doing it because, again, it's just not the best use of my time. Also, another one, I think we're on tip number 7. Are we on tip 7? I don't know. Who cares at this point? You should look into the profit first system. Now, I do not follow this to a T. They recommend like 7 different bank accounts, and I'm just not doing all that. But I do think there's a lot of valuable information as far as how to approach your revenue and profit and the business side of your firm and the finances and how to understand that. That's a great book to kind of teach you some of those methods and those skills. And there actually is one for lawyers. There's a profit first for lawyers or profit first for law firm owners. It's called something like that, but it's geared specifically towards lawyers or law firms. And so last one I would recommend that you read, and again, you may not implement and do everything that they say to a T because I don't. That doesn't really work for me, but there are some really good money principles in that book when it comes to running a law firm that I would recommend to anyone trying to do a better job at managing their books and managing the finances and to really understand the finances in their law firm and to be a more informed law firm owner and business owner. So those are some of my kind of money tips for law firm owners. So hopefully at least one of these was helpful for you to help you be a better business owner, be a better law firm owner. So many times my clients, my law firm owners, they're great lawyers. They're amazing lawyers. But they need help with the business side of running a law firm. And that's where I come in. And that's where I help them figure those things out, run a better business, run a better law firm, one that works for them, works for their clients, works for their teams, and is successful in the way that they define what a successful law firm looks like. Again, that could be because, for their time or for revenue or a wide array of reasons why someone wants to go out on their own. So I work with them to help them achieve their goals. So if you need help with your law firm, feel free to reach out. I'll have contact information listed below. Also, I have a free, I think I have a free business plan listed below and a free guide on kind of how I manage my law firm at under 30 hours a week. So if any of those are helpful for you, make sure you grab those below and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.